But I gotta ask you, what was your reaction when you seen the video of Diddy attacking Cassie?
Okay. The trials and tribulations of Sean Puffy Combs and the Cassie debacle. Here's what I'm going to say. I want to respond to your question on the Diddy situation morally and ethically, and then I want to respond to it legally and procedurally because I believe they're separate. American law isn't based on justice. We know that. American law isn't based on righteousness. We know that. American law isn't based on morality or ethics. We know that. So I have to respond with the moral side as a black man watching a black man not only put his hands, but also put his feet on a woman. And I don't care what color the woman is. No woman should ever be harmed by a man. I don't care if she's red, black, blue, purple, or brown. No woman should ever be assaulted by a man. And I can't say that enough. So from a moral perspective, from a black man perspective, what Sean Puffy Combs did by not only putting hands, but also putting feet on that woman and then dragging her down the hallway is unacceptable. It is reprehensible. It was absolutely disgusting, grotesque, and to some degree, unforgivable. I'm 10 toes down with the black community on the fact that what Puffy did was without question conduct unbecoming a man, let alone a role model. You have no argument from me on that point. I want to be clear on that. Wrong, wrong, wrong. But now I have to turn the mirror on Black America. And I have to ask Black America a very serious question. Are you really against domestic violence? Or are you simply glorying in the downfall of a very successful rap mogul and you're using the domestic violence incident as a justification to celebrate his fall from grace? And the reason I have to ask this question, Art, is because 40% of black women in America are domestically abused every day in this country. 40%. That's almost half the black women in this country are victimized by their lovers, their husbands, their boyfriends, their baby dads, their fiancés. So if black men are appalled by Puff Daddy's behavior, if black women are appalled by Puff Daddy's behavior, why do we have so much domestic violence in the black community? Let me ask it another way. You want Puffy to suffer for what he did, and he should. But did you call the police when you heard your son beating his girlfriend up upstairs? Did you call the police when you heard your nephew choking out his girlfriend last week? Did you call the police when you heard your grandfather smacking up your grandmother in the back room? See, I cannot condone hypocrisy, Art. I can't condone hypocrisy. If we are this adamant against domestic abuse, why is it so prevalent in the black community? Do you know that a black woman is 3 times as likely to be murdered by her romantic partner than a white woman? 3 times as likely. And I don't have to tell you, you watch the news. This whole year has been a killing spree against black women. I've seen more black women murdered this year by their baby dad, by their estranged husband, by the fiance, more this year than I've seen in quite some time. You have white men who are taking black women on dates, beheading them, chopping their body parts up and distributing them all over the town, as was just happened in Ohio a few weeks ago and elsewhere in this country. It has been nothing but a homicide year for black women. Femicide in our community is a major problem. So if we are that in agreement against the abuse of black women, why is it so prevalent? Black women, when you find out your son, your nephew, your uncle, your brother, your father is beating on their women, have you called the police? Black men, when you find out your son, your nephew, your father, your uncle, your brother is beating up on black women, do you chin check him? Do you grab him by the collar? Do you pull him out the house and give his ass a good stomping that he deserves? No, you don't. You know what we do, Art? We turn the other cheek. You got black women being beat up in black churches. You got black women being abused in the masjid, Jehovah Witnesses, all organizations. You can't name me an organization, black conscious movement, mainstream black America, black church, black masjid, fraternity, sorority, masonics. I don't care what it is. Black women are being beat. Black pastors are beating up their women, and everybody's turning a blind eye. So to me, although Puffy needs to be held accountable, I would have to charge Black America with being guilty of hypocrisy, because too many black women are being beat down and murdered every day in this country. And I do not see the outcry for them like I see the outcry for Cassie. And let me go a step further. Let me go another point. Because we're dealing with the hypocrisy of this. I am not defending Sean Puffy Combs. I can sit here and tell you in the presence of my ancestors and in the presence of the Almighty, brother, I have never put my hands on a woman in my life. There's not a woman on this earth who can say Dr. Umar physically abused me. I could never do that because I've seen domestic violence in my own home growing up as a child. I know what it is, brother. And because of that, I promised myself I would never put my hands on a woman. But here's another question I got for Black America. If you care about domestic abuse so much, why were you absolutely quiet when the New York Appeals Court overturned Harvey Weinstein's conviction? Harvey Weinstein, who was accused of sexually abusing more than 100 women, plenty of them were black, and guess what? His conviction just got overturned. I ain't heard a word from nobody on YouTube. And Harvey Weinstein's attorney just said that because the New York case was overturned, Harvey Weinstein is still in jail for the Los Angeles conviction. But his attorney said circumstances involved in the New York case that was just overturned could lead to his Los Angeles conviction also being overturned, which means Harvey Weinstein could be set free someday soon. Why isn't Black America talking about that? Are we really against domestic violence, or are we just celebrating the downfall of a great black mogul? Let me go another step. The Roman Catholic Church. Are you aware that the Roman Catholic Church has admitted to at least 11,000 separate sexual assaults of Roman Catholic priests upon innocent children? Let me say that again. 11,000 separate sexual assaults against innocent children by the priests of the Roman Catholic Church. At least 4,300 priests are involved. 11,000 acts of child sex abuse in the Roman Catholic Church. At least 4,300 priests are involved. If we are against domestic violence, Art, can I ask you a question? Why do we still have 3 million American African Catholics in the United States of America? How in the hell do you go back to Catholic Mass, black people who claim to be against domestic violence? How do you go back to Catholic Mass? How are you still a member of the Roman Catholic Church when over 11,000 separate incidents of child sex assault involving over 4,300 Roman Catholic priests, you claim you don't support domestic violence, and you still belong to a church that admits to over 11,000 acts of it? Will the real hypocrite please stand up? If we against it, why so many women being beat? Why are so many women being killed by their lovers? Why aren't their girlfriends saying anything? Their cousins aren't saying anything. Their next door neighbors aren't saying anything. Women in the congregation, men in the congregation aren't saying anything. If we hate domestic violence, why are black women the greatest victims of it? Or do we only care when it's a light-skinned celebrity involved? And let me go a step further, Art. I got to go a step further. I gave you my moral answer. I want to switch to the legal. I want to switch to the legal. Cassie settled with Puff for 30 mils, which she took back to her white husband. If I were speaking with Cassie, and I want to be clear, I would never blame her for what she went through. I would never blame her for what she went through. I know what survivor's remorse is all about. I am in the field of psychology. I would never blame her or try to scapegoat her for what Puffy did to her. I would never do that to any woman. But if I were talking to Cassie, I would ask her this stuff. Sister Cassie. And I don't know if she identifies as black or mixed race or whatever bag she in. She definitely bunny hopping right now. But this is what I would ask her. Was this about justice or was this about money? Because when you were with Puffy, because he's Sean Puffy Combs, you could have went into any police precinct. You could have picked up the phone and called any criminal defense lawyer in America and told them, I'm Sean Puffy Combs' lover, and I am afraid of my life because he is abusing me on a regular basis. Do you know how many lawyers would have jumped at an opportunity to not only put him behind bars, but also get her a payday? I'm talking about when it was happening. When it was happening. She could have got justice immediately when it was happening. So if I was talking to my sister Cassie, assuming she claims to be black, if I was talking to my sister Cassie, Cassie, is this about justice or is this about money? Because if this is about justice and protecting sisters from domestic abuse, why didn't you run him to the police when you were still with Puffy? Why are we just now hearing about this 8 years later or however many years after the fact? Why did you wait until you married a white man and then came back to get the black man's money? Was this about money or was this about justice? I'm not shaming her. I'm simply saying I'm confused. Because if this is about women's rights and protecting women, why didn't you run his ass into the police back when this was happening? It's not like he a brother who just got out of prison, Art. It's not like he's a homeless boyfriend from high school. It's not like he's a brother working a regular 9 to 5. This is Sean Puffy Combs, the face of black music, who was a mogul before Jay-Z became a mogul. She would have had no problem embarrassing him, holding him accountable, getting him charged or convicted, but she waited it out. She waited it out. And after she finally left that situation, thank God she did, moved on, got her white husband, she comes back to get 30 million. Is it justice or is it extortion? Is it justice or is it extortion? Is it justice or is it extortion? And here's the point I want to make, and I'll close on this point. I'm concerned, Art, because I'm seeing the white power structure go after wealthy black men with old, outdated accusations of domestic abuse and sex abuse. Don't get me wrong. I don't trivialize sexual violence against women. I don't trivialize domestic violence against women because our women suffer from it the most. I don't trivialize it. I don't make light of it. But to have these women come back 8 years later, 10 years later, Bill Cosby, 40 years later, for financial demands for money, or try to get somebody incarcerated decades after, years after the offense, when you chose to do nothing at the time with celebrity men. I'm not talking everyday men, Art. We're talking celebrity men who have a lot to lose. I just can't sit by as a black man and say I'm okay with the legal system letting these women pop up whenever they feel like it 5, 10, 30, 40 years later and say he did this to me and I want money even if he can't get jail time. If you really cared about justice, you would have brought suit against that black man before the statute of limitations expired.
The apology video. What did you think about the apology video? And do you think the apology video was a good idea?
I do not think the apology video was a good idea because, number one, nobody's going to believe it, even if it's sincere. I have trouble believing it if it was sincere because of what he has to lose. Why wouldn't you do an apology video? Isn't that the first thing your lawyer or publicist makes you do when you are found at fault of breaking the law? Do an apology video. So I think it was bad because nobody's going to believe him. And if nobody believes you, that means they think that you're faking your apology, which, in my opinion, further diminishes and disgraces your reputation. I don't think I would have done it. And if I would have done it, first of all, I would have never been guilty of that. So let me be clear. I would have never been guilty of that to have to do it. But in Puffy's case, if you're going to do a video, Puff, and apologize, I believe it should have been personally sent to Cassie. Even if you're going to do a separate one for the public, because she's the person you offended against. You didn't offend me. You offended against her first and the community second. So I can understand a video for the community because she belongs to us. But your first video should have been a personal one to her. That's number one. And only after she received the video, I would have let some time go by when this entire situation is an afterthought in everyone's mind. It's been rectified and settled. Then I would probably come out with an apology video. But to come out with an apology video when there's so many questions still unanswered, you have new accusations being made against you every day. So does this mean you're going to be doing an apology video for every woman that comes forward or every video that surfaces before the media? I think it was premature. I'm not against him doing it, but I do not think the timing was right at all.